So this is going to get exciting, entertaining. So earlier today, we found out that the injunction that had been sought to try to contain the encampment over at McGill was declined by a Quebec judge. They chose not to, in fact, grant an injunction. Now, when we started talking about this, I didn't fully understand what was asked for in this injunction. It's only when I found out today, I thought even it'd be hard-pressed to try to imagine a judge would say, you know what, yeah, this seems fair to go ahead to all 160 some odd McGill locations across the city and say that they could not have students there protesting within 100 meters of any building. So I'm frankly not surprised that that happened, but I'm not a lawyer. Thankfully, our next guest is Sibel Ataogul, and I know I would pronounce it wrong, but I thank you for being here.
That's fine.
And it turns out
thank you for having me.
You work in the building of all places.
I am in your building.
That's crazy.
Yes.
So you were the lawyer who represented the students here in this particular case.
The students and professors of McGill.
Yeah, and here's the really interesting part. Didn't even think about this. Law professors at McGill are on strike right now.
They are on strike right now. So shout out to the law profs who are on strike right now. And they would not, under this order, their right to picket would have been violated. Which
is crazy when they're not even part of this.
Because what was being requested was that no one who has knowledge of the order be allowed to protest. And this includes peaceful, obviously, protesting, because not peaceful protesting is already prohibited, within 100 meters of the doors of 154 McGill buildings. That's downtown. But also, if you're from the West Island like me, that's Saint-Anne-de-Bellevue, because McGill has buildings over there. So if you are a worker, you have to protest, I don't know, women's rights, whatever it may be, they were asking that we just do not allow any protest, basically in a big chunk of downtown and the West Island. That's what the request was. Which
again strikes me as kind of crazy. I could understand for the encampment, you'd not want to be in front of a building down there, but that's not what this asked for.
No, that's not what this asked for. This was literally no protests in such, I pled, I said, if we had a map, you could see how big this is. It just made, for us, it made no sense. That's what we pled. Also, the evidence that we led showed that nobody was being blocked from going to class. And we had numerous written declarations from Jewish people. I think people forget that there's, International Jewish Voices and other Jewish groups who are in the encampment, who are organizing the encampment, who are organizing cedars at the encampment. So it was just so, for us, so clear that this could not be granted, and we're very happy with the decision.
I hate to say this, but it seems almost like a knee-jerk reaction from the people on the other side to simply say, we need to do something, this is our best shot, when you realize this probably had no shot.
That's something you will definitely be asking the other attorney, but to me, I know what I pled was I don't think that this was about, from the scope of the order sought, it really seemed to us like the impact was to not have any protests from pro-Palestinian protesters anywhere. And to us, that was the big problem. We're like, courts can't be used to stifle an opinion that you don't want to hear.
And obviously the judge agreed because the injunction wasn't granted. Nope. I would ask you the question then of what's next. I had one of the people from the encampment on the show earlier today who said what they've said all along. They don't plan to go anywhere, regardless of McGill. McGill reached out, by the way. There's a statement, I read part of this to you a minute ago, saying that, look, okay, we understand the injunction wasn't granted. We're now prepared to sit down, our lawyers, your lawyers, and try to work something out. But that is conditional on them leaving the encampment. Is that likely to happen from what you know?
Well, I'm not, like I said, I was there for the profs and I was there for the students. I don't view the lower field at McGill as being, personally, this is not a legal opinion, it's open to the public. Everybody can circulate. I went to university. For me, universities are not places that I view as being purely private. So this idea that anybody that's not from McGill could not protest on the lower field, I just don't understand it. I don't see how it's enforceable, but...
That's part of the statement, by the way.
I'm not going to comment. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's part of the statement. I think they want everybody that's not from the McGill community to leave. And to me, McGill owns such a big part of downtown. So I think you're either, a public agent like McGill or you're not. So I don't think you can choose to be both.
I'm guessing, and we're going to have to wrap up, but I'm guessing that until such time, if it happens, there's any violence that breaks out or the line of free speech crosses into hate speech, that's when the situation changes. Until then, nothing does.
I think that's probably what could happen. But again, since, I might find myself involved in a court case, I don't want to comment too much on that.
I don't know. Do you say congratulations on winning? I guess you're a lawyer. You went to court.
Please do.
So
yes, I was. Okay. We celebrated.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much.
It's nice to know you
I'm
work
very
in the
close.
building.
I'll come in anytime.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
That's one side of the story from a lawyer representing those students, as she said, and the McGill law profs who wouldn't have been allowed to picket had this injunction been granted. The other lawyer representing the plaintiffs here is Neil Oberman, who's on the line. Neil, again, I want to say to you what I said to Sibel a minute earlier, which is the fact that I had no idea when we heard there was an injunction that this was going to try to prevent basically students from protesting anywhere at any McGill properties. Was that a mistake?
There are no mistakes when it comes to safety and security. I heard my colleague, and I have a great respect for my colleague, but there's no celebrating today, not because the judgment is in favor of one party or the other. There's a context to the problem. There's issues that are very serious before the court, serious issues before McGill. This isn't about free speech. The concepts before the court were a question of protection. It's a qui timit injunction, which is a preventative injunction to ensure safety and security. The fact that McGill didn't do anything to do that required two students who just want to study, have their day at school, write their exams, and go home, have to hire a lawyer to assist in that process. So I don't perceive this as a win or a loss. I want to focus your listeners' attention to the context of the problem. This problem didn't start on April 27th. It started way before, when there were sit-ins and die-ins and blocking classrooms. And also the judge said in paragraph 47 that she invites the participants, mainly the defendants and the protesters, to choose their words carefully. And more specifically, the judge wrote in her conclusions that the words we use have meaning and have impact on people's perception that could rise to the issue of violence and anti-Semitism. So I do not share some of the views out there, but I share the following view. Very simply put, there is a limitation on the right to obviously assemble, on the right to protest. Nobody wants to limit legitimate rights. While there might have been an impact, the situation wasn't created by my two clients. They're simple students trying to study. The situation was created by people who came onto this campus who decided to do what they did. McGill said it itself in their own email that they have proof of intimidation, proof of anti-Semitism. It's their campus. They should get off the fence, not be like Switzerland, stop eating chocolate, and go solve the problem. Don't put it on two students. Now, anybody who wants to celebrate what happened, they can have their celebration. I am going to go back to the table. I'm going to continue to represent people who have a right for protection, a right to live with peace and serenity. And at the end of the day, there is a context. Do you see what's going on in the U.S.? Do we want that to happen here? Absolutely not. Quebec values, Canadian values do not tolerate hate and aggression, violence and intimidation. And that's the bottom line. The judge ruled, we respect it, but this is not the end of the case. We hope people will decide to apply what the judge has said and conduct themselves in a more appropriate manner. But the evidence is clear, climbing on buildings, igniting smoke and cindery devices. There was an affidavit that clearly said somebody was beaten with a pole on McGill campus. These are the facts. Whatever else happens, that will be for McGill to decide how to do, but we stand by our case. We respect the judgment. We respect our colleagues, but this situation wasn't caused by two students. It was caused by other people who don't have the same vision of reality.
My question then would be, based on what you've just said, what's next?
What's next is we will evaluate where we're at, what is required. We hope and expect that McGill, as mentioned, will get off the fence and do something for its property and do something for the students that have to go to school, to summer school, to use the library, that they should be protected at all times, because can you ever be too safe? Well, some people think that the rights of many don't apply to the rights of all. My two students are not inconsequential. Even if you have 20,000 members you represent, every student life matters. And quite frankly, I'm a strong advocate for the rights of people. I am representing numerous people during this episodes in Montreal. I want to tell your listeners, if you do nothing and you say nothing, nothing will happen. My two clients decided to stand up and be heard. Justice was rendered. Whether it's the perfect decision or not is not for me to comment on. But now everybody's on notice. Choose your words carefully. Words matter. Actions matter. Don't have unchecked conduct. And this is what I draw from the judgment.
Neil, last thing, and I have to wrap up. There is a statement from McGill that came out just a little earlier this afternoon, suggesting now, after this injunction was not granted, that they're prepared to meet with both sides, so I guess lawyers for both sides, and try to work a deal contingent on these people leaving McGill grounds. Do you think that's likely to happen?
Well, what it shows is that the action of these two brave students has brought change. because now perhaps McGill will do something to bring proper order to its campus. So today is a good day because things are moving. And as I said to you before, when you do nothing, you get nothing. So yes, if they can solve the problem, more power to them. But we as lawyers are here to help the population protect their rights. And we will do so for these two students and any other student that wants to come forward.
Neil, thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Neil Oberman, lawyer representing plaintiffs in that injunction case, which, as I said, was not granted today. Question is what happens next. McGill says, in the wake of the injunction not being granted, that it is prepared to sit down and try to work out an agreement, listen to these students as well. But again, that is contingent upon them leaving the grounds. And the indication we had earlier, talking to one of the organizers, was they have absolutely no plan to do that. So I wonder what happens next. We all do.